Hey folks, Diabetic Stoner here, and today I'm going to be assembling the Outsunny cold frame, model number 845-084V00. Not really sure what the GN is for, but according to the manual, which I printed out, it stops at the 00. Take a look at the specs on this. So as you can see, it's 131 centimeters by 56.5 centimeters by 5 by 6 centimeters, or 51.57 inches by 22.24 inches by 2.36 inches. So the first thing I'm going to do is I am going to open this bad boy up. I bought this off of Amazon. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to grab my trusty utility knife and I am going to open this up. Now I am going to have to set my phone down because I don't have a tripod for my smartphone. So I'll be with you in just a moment. So I have run my cutter through the edges and I'm going to take a look and see what's in the box. All right, so quite a lot. What I'm going to do is I'm going to pause the video and then I'm going to sort out everything according to the manual, all the parts and pieces. Okay, so I have checked all the parts. I've checked them 3 times and I am definitely missing some parts. I am missing part W1, all of them. So I'm missing 4 pieces there. I am missing B5. I should have 2 pieces there. I'm missing B6. That should be 1 piece. For some reason, part number, if you go down the list, part 6, on the actual part itself, it's labeled as 6L. 6L, like Larry or Lima. So I do have 4 of those. I hope that's the right one because I don't see any other component in here that's labeled as 6 alone. So that's kind of weird. I'm missing 7, which is 1 piece. I'm missing 8, which is 2 pieces. And what else am I missing? Oh, F1, you're supposed to have 16 of these. I got 17. For F2, you're supposed to have 34. I had 38 plus 1 extra nut. So I am missing a few pieces here. I am going to have to call Outsunny or email them, possibly issue a refund, send it back to them. I'm hoping that's not the case. I have triple checked everything. The parts that I'm missing, I am definitely missing. So that's weird. I will resume this video once everything has been resolved. Hopefully there won't be any issues. Okay, so I have now received all the parts that were missing, I hope. I spoke to their customer service department and they said that there are 2 parts in here that are no longer required, so they didn't send it to me. They said that parts B5 and B6, as you can see I marked off, I did not receive these parts with the X that I've indicated. Now, the representative that I spoke to on the phone has indicated that these parts are no longer required. Not really sure what that's all about, but let's get on with the assembly video. Now, today is March the 13th, but I did receive the replacement parts yesterday, and the time duration between my placing the call and me receiving the parts yesterday was 19 days in total. So what will you need to assemble this? You will need a Phillips head screwdriver, and you're going to need a ratchet with a 10 millimeter adapter or socket, or failing that, a ratchet screwdriver with a 10 millimeter adapter or socket. So without further ado, let's go on and begin to assemble this. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to get a W piece. Let's see, where did I put my W's? Bear with me. So as you can see, I need to attach my W1s to a W2, which is this piece here. Okay, so I'm going to put the phone down and I'm going to assemble that. And I'm going to do this with an F1 screw. So I've got my W1 right over here, and in my hand I've got one W2. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to slide it in here, and you'll see how I put it in just a moment. Now I'm going to slide the W2 into W1 right in here. I don't know how well you can see that, but I'm going to slide that in there, and then I'll show you what it looks like after I've attached it. So now I've got my W1, which is this one here, snapped into the W2, which is this one here, and this is what it looks like on both sides. I don't know how well you can see this or not, but the W1 is inside of the W2 on both sides. Okay, there you go. So the W2, which is this one here, it's overlapping the W1. This is W1, this is W2. W2 is overlapping W1 on this side, and it's overlapping W1 on this side. So on both sides. Now, when you snap it in, like so, there's an opening here for an F1 screw. So we're going to put the F1 screw in just a minute. So if you take a look, you'll see a little hole here, and I'm going to screw in the F1 screw using my Phillips screwdriver. As you can see, the F1 screw is in there. You want to make sure that the W2, this one here, the smaller one, you want to make sure that this one is fully pushed into the W1. Otherwise, you're going to have some trouble putting that F1 screw in there. I did have a little bit of trouble. Then I realized I had to push the W2 into the W1 fully. Like it'll kind of, not click, but you'll feel it. So let's move on to the next step. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take another W2 bar and I'm going to put it onto this end of the W1. I've already put one W2 on that end. So now I'm going to put the W2 onto this end. As you can see, I've got the W2 bar on the W1 over here. And once again, I'm going to put an F1 screw. If I can only get this darn thing to focus, I'm going to put an F1 screw on here, in here. So you want to make sure that this is slid up all the way here and that it lines up with the hole. So I now have my F1 screw in here. One thing I wanted to note is that the W2 bar, the smaller bar here, I pushed it up against the W1 as much as I could, but I did have some trouble getting this screw in there. As you can see or not, it started to strip just as I was turning it. So I didn't want to push it too much, but if you look carefully, I don't know if you can see it or not. See, it's like protruding just a little bit on this end. Now let's look at the other end. This one is in a bit more. But anyways, let's see what we've got. This is what I have so far. Basically half of the frame. Now I'm going to slide in one of my P1s, which is over there. That's the see-through window. So just bear with me. I have here one of the P1 panels. Now I have stripped off the plastic sheath, one on each side. One, as you can see, is a see-through one here, and the other one had a white color to it. So white on one side, see-through on the other side of this P1 panel. I am now going to slide it in between this half frame that I've made. Alright, so I've got the plastic window through W1, W2 frame. So now I'm assuming I'm going to put on another W2 bar going across here. So I'm going to put that on right now. According to the manual, I was mistaken. I thought I would put another W1 on the bottom, but if you look here, it's actually a W3 bar, which I have here in my hands. This is a W3, so I'm going to put that up along the top of this, closing it off. So this is the W3 bar along the top, and if you'll notice, it goes into this bar here. This is the W2. So W3 will go inside the W2, and that's for both sides, here and here. It goes inside, and you line it up as best as you can so that you can see this hole here. You're going to put another screw in there. Same thing for the opposite side. You'll see that the W3 bar goes into the W2. I put it inside here, like so, on both sides. And then you line it up as best as you can, and there's a hole right here. And now I'm going to put in some F1s. I'm going to put some F1 screws, one on this side, one on the opposite side. So as you can see here, I've got an F1 screw here on this end. This is my W3 bar. And I got another screw, F1 screw on this end. One personal observation that I've made is that the screws don't necessarily go in properly. It's very tight. It's easy to strip the screws, but we've got our first panel made. So on to our next step. I'm just going to set this aside. Now that I've set the first panel aside, if you look, see, that's the completion of that panel, right? But the next page, it's telling you to move on to another step. And I'll get into that later on. But the first thing that I've noticed is that I've got 3 more P1s, which is the see-through window. That's the right there. That's the one behind the other panels. That's the one we've already completed. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to replicate the exact same panel that I have, because I still have 3 W1s, I've still got 3 W3s, and I've got 3 W2s, and I've got 3 more of these panels here. So obviously I need to make 3 more of these, the exact same panels. So I'm going to make that right now, and all I'm doing is I'm just replicating what I've done so far. I just finished my second panel. So once again, you got your W1, you've got 2 W2s on the sides, and you've got your W3 on the bottom. So I'm just going to put this aside with my first panel. And I'm going to do this 2 more times. So as you can see, I've now assembled 4 of what I'm calling the P1 panels. Now on to the next step. So the next step is to attach my B1 clips to the W3 part of the P1 panel. So if you take a look at the panel, the W1 is the one, I don't know if you can see it, but it's got like a groove here, okay? And the W3, it's just flat. So I'm going to have to put the W3, or sorry, the B1 clip, just snap it in the middle as they show over here. So I'm going to do that right now, and then I'll show you what it looks like. It's just literally snapping it in. You're not using any screws or anything like that. Now, here's where it gets kind of complicated, because you've got this groove here. You've got this groove on your W1, and I can't really tell which way that falls in relation to the W1. See, should I clip it? According to the picture here, I should be clipping it this way. I'll show you in just a minute. So this is my W1 up here, and this is that groove that I was talking about. And this is how I snapped the B1 into place. Just dead set along the middle, eyeballing it. I don't know if you can see that or not. So I'm eyeballing it right down the middle. And this little hook here that's on the lower end. And on the opposite side, you've got another hook higher up, but on the other side. So the other hook is right here, but it's on the back side. And you got your B1 front clip here. So I'm not 100% sure yet if this is on backwards or if it's on the right way. I think this is the right way from what I can tell. But we'll find out in just a few minutes. I'm going to snap the other B1s that I have onto the 3 remaining P1 panes that you can see back there. As you can see, I've got all the B1 clips on. Again, I don't know 100% sure if I've got the B1 clip on the right way. For all I know, this could be on backwards, and I might have to just pop it off and then reverse it, flip it over. But this is how I have it. This is the inner groove of the W1 frame. If I have to take it off, it's not a big deal, because there's no tools or any screws. It's just a matter of popping it on and popping it off. So if I have to take it off, I'll just yank it off. But from what I can tell in the pictures, this looks to be pretty okay. Find out in a bit. I guess this is one of those things that I'll figure out once I'm putting it onto the actual frame, once I get to that part of it. As you can see on the next page, we're going to move on to the pillars, the side pillars, which is number 6. Now, for whatever reason, they've labeled it as 6L. I don't know why they did that, but so I'm going to take 4 of those as the 4 pillars. Then I'm going to need 2 number 1s here and here, and then 2 number 2s. So I'm going to get onto that right now. Before I continue, I did skip one page. I'm going to show that page to you right now. This page here, I'm kind of lost on this page because there's no mark here. It doesn't tell you what component or part number this is. So I'm going to have to figure that out. That's really interesting. All they say is hexagonal screw installation. Place the hexagonal screw into the groove. Turn clockwise until it stops turning. Adjust the hexagonal screw by hand and twist so threads fix it in place. Place other parts on hexagonal screw and assemble the nut. So I'm going to kind of keep that to a side, and I'm going to get started on the base. As you can see, I've got 2 number 2 bars right here. Those are number 2s. And this one here, 2 number 1s. These are the longer ones. And then I've got 6, number 6, part number 6, or 6L, as they've labeled that here. I've got 4 of those. So that makes sense with what I'm seeing here. 4 of the 6s, or 6Ls, as they've labeled it on mine. 2 of the number 2 bars and 2 of the number 1s. So I'm going to get started on just the placement. As you can see, I've got a number 1 bar here. I've got one directly opposite, and the two long ones are the number ones. Okay, and then I'm going to have to somehow connect number 6 as the pillars. So from what I can see, I have to connect those using F2s, which are the hexagonal nuts. So I'll figure that out and I'll let you know in just a couple minutes. Now this bar here is a number 2 bar. Opposite of it, I've got another number 2. This one on the side and the long one opposite of it, those are number 1s. Now the bars you see smack dab in the middle with the wrapping still on it, that is a number 4. And of course I've got my number 6 here. So now I need to attach the 2 bar to the number 6. So I'm going to do that right now. It's a little tricky. So with one hand, because I'm holding my phone here. Okay, this is going to be a little tricky. I'm going to have to pause this and then I'll show you what I've done. So I've got my 2 bar right over here, and if you'll look closely, my camera's not really focusing. I've got an F2 bolt in here. So this is how I'm holding the F2 bar. Okay, and what I'm going to do is that bolt is going to slide into this groove here. Let me just put this down and I will show you where it's going to go. That bolt is going to slide down this groove over here, this little indentation right in here. Okay, now this is tricky because I've only got one hand I'm holding this, but you need to put the bolt, you need to lace the bolt into the 2 bar before you put it in here. Now let's see if I'm going to pause it again. Just give me a second. So this is my 2 bar. I don't know if you can, it's not really focusing, unfortunately. There we go. And now what I'm going to do, I've got the bolt in there, and I'm going to put it so that the bolt lines up in this slot here. Now this is really tricky with one hand, but now that I've shown you how to do it, I'm going to pause it and I'll show you the finished product. So just bear with me. See, this bolt here will slide down here. Okay, and look at the position of how I'm holding the bar. Okay. All right. So I'm going to pause it and then I'll secure it with the nut. Just bear with me. So as you can see, I've got the 2 bar bolted into the 6 bar. And this is how it's going to look. Okay. Pay attention to the edges as to how I've got this. Now on this side, you've got the nut and the bolt right here. Okay. I just hope that I got that right. Okay, and I'm going to do the same thing for the other end. So bear with me. I just wanted to give you an idea as to how to slide that in there. Okay, so you're going to have one, you can see I've got one nut and bolt on connecting the 2, which is the long skinny one, to the 6. And if you'll notice, on the opposite side of where the nut and bolt currently is, there's another groove over here as well. So I'll figure out how to connect it the same way. Yep. So you're going to have another bar connecting to the 6 bar, which is on the left hand side of the screen. So I got the 2 bar. This is the 2 bar, the long one here. Then I'll have another bar connecting that. As you can see, I've got a 6 bar here, a 6 bar here, connected to a 1-bar over here. So that's like one part of the frame. Now I'm going to connect this 1-bar, sorry, this is a 1, this is a 2-bar, I believe. I'm already getting mixed up in my part numbers, bear with me. This is a 2-bar right here. This is a 2-bar that I've connected. So right opposite, I've got another 2-bar over there. That's a 1. And this one here lying, that's also a 1. So I'm going to connect my 1 bars now to the other side of this 6 here. That will go, let me show you, at the bottom here, right here. And it'll run out this way as you see the 1 bar going there. So I'm going to do that right now, and I'm going to connect it with an F2 bolt and nut. Something worth sharing, the bolt, I had trouble putting it in from the bottom edge over here. I couldn't slide it through the grooves on the bottom end. So what I did was, from all the way up here, I put the bolt in and I just slid it down. Now I'm going to connect the 1 bar, the long bar right here, to this the same way that I did with the number 2 bar. So that will go like this. I'll pop this. Okay, let me show you the bar. Okay. And that's going to go right into this. So bear with me, and then I'll secure it with the nut. Okay, so I have now secured the 1 bar to the same 6 post or pillar. And this is my 1 bar. That's my 2 bar. Then I got another 6 bar pillar here. And now I'm going to connect another 1, but on the opposite side. And I'm going to connect it right over here to this 6 post or pillar. So as you can see, I've got my number 1 connected to the 6th pillar or post, and then I've got a number 2, another 6, and then this is my number 1 here. Now, something that I just learned the hard way, and hopefully you guys will catch this. Here, let me see if I can get it to focus. This groove, it's not going to focus, of course it's not. This groove where you're putting the nut in, okay, where you're going to slide the nut down here, there is a top and a bottom to these 6 posts. So I didn't catch that at first, so I had to redo that one. But when you slide the nut down here, there is a top and a bottom to this. Like, I don't know which one is which, and I'm going to demonstrate so you understand what I'm talking about. Just going to open one of these up. Okay, I'm going to have to pause this because I can't do this with one hand. The nut, or sorry, the bolt will only slide from one end of this 6th pillar post, whatever you want to call it. All right, so let me demonstrate and see if I can make this clear. You're going to have to slide it in here. See now, see, it's not going in this end. See that? It doesn't go from there, which means this is the bottom of the 6th post. Now I'm going to pause the video, and then I'm going to slide it in from the other end. I now have the bolt in the top end. I flipped the 6th pillar around, and watch what happens when I drop it. It won't come out. So this is the bottom of the 6th pillar post, and the bolt just stops there. The reason why I'm telling you this is because you're not going to be able to put the 6th pillar, you won't be able to slide that bolt in from the bottom. You have to get it from the top and let the bolt slide down, and then you lace it through the bars. So yeah, it is very possible that you can have this upside down, this sixth pillar post. Hey Bruno, what you doing? So yeah, when you're sliding the bolt in, it can only go in one way. And you want that to be the top. Wherever the bolt slides in from, whichever end, like it slid in from this end, the top end, then you slide it down. So just something to make a note about. Now I'm going to attach my second 2-bar, and I'll have 2 more 6-post pillars over here. So I've already shown you how to do that. I'm just going to pause this, and then I will do that, and I'll show you the completion of the base. All right, so I've got my 1 connected to the 6th pillar post, and I've started this end of my number 2, and now I'm going to put up the last pillar post over here. Okay, so as you can see, I've got 2 6-pillar posts over there, 4 number 6 pillar posts. I've got 2 number 1s and 2 number 2s. Now, I did make an interesting observation with this last 6th pillar post, and that is the bolt was able to slide down one of the slots on both ends. And that made connecting it here a real pain in the butt because it kept sliding out from the bottom. So I had a little bit of trouble with that one. I'm finding that the quality of the machining process of how they're building this, it varies. What's also interesting is that they've labeled this one 6R, and this one, is it this one? Where is it? No, it's on this side, I think. One of them is 6L. Now, I guess I might have taken it off, or I'm just not seeing it. Oh, here we go. Here. This 6-pillar post, they've labeled it as 6L. So 6R and 6L, yet in the manual it's just labeled as 6. But this is the basic frame, 4 6-pillar posts connecting to 2 number 1s and 2 number 2s. So on to the next step. As you can see, I now have to attach 2 number 4 posts, which I've got here, to my number 2 bar. That's the shorter of these 2 bars. So I'm going to put a number 4 on this side and a number 4 on that side. And you can see the opening right here for the number 4. And it's going to be basically the same thing. You're going to slide the bolt, the F2 bolt, right down the 4 slot, the rail, down here. So I'm going to do that and attach it. As you can see, I've got the 4 post here in the middle, and I've got another 4 post in the middle here. Pay attention to the fact that the 2 holes on the 4 posts are at the top. And you slide the bolt down, there are no holes on the bottom of the 4 post. So these 2 holes here on the 4, you have them on they should be at the top of the pillars here, and there's no holes drilled in at the bottom. You just slide the bolt through the groove and you lace it through the bottom opening on that bottom bar. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my P2 polycarbonate panes, and I'm going to put one in here and one along there. Now, when you peel these things off, you got to be very careful, because I don't know how well you can see this, but this material, it's easy just to damage the actual polycarbonate pane, because you're going to look at this part right here. I don't know if you can see the edge, but this is really a flimsy material, and you can accidentally damage the polycarbonate paint. What I do is I kind of rub my nail against this, and then you can pull it off like that, because what's going to happen, I don't know how well you can see this, but you can actually see this here, this edge, that's part of the polycarbonate paint, this clear part. And you're going to think that, oh, well, if I peel it from the edge, it'll be okay, but you can actually damage this. So I'm going to actually scrape it like close to the edge, but not at the edge, and then I'll peel that, peel the plastic sheathing off of it. Now, just to give you an idea, what I did was I scratch it with my nails, and then once it starts to flake off, see, then you can get this off, right? But look at this polycarbonate paint. This is really flimsy. You can actually damage it if you pull this off incorrectly. So I like to scratch it, and once it starts to flake, then you can just peel it all off. Anyways, I can't really do this with one hand, so I'm just going to peel it off. I just wanted to show you guys how I take the plastic cover off. So here's something interesting. This polycarbonate paint was actually damaged, and I did not damage that. It came like this. Not the end of the world. See, but this is what I mean. Like, this is how flimsy this material is. This is a really crappy paint. And I'm going to be addressing this in my review after I'm done assembling it. But I have removed the see-through sheet on this side and the white sheet on that side. Just like the P1, they've got a clear on one side and a white on the other. So anyways, I will be putting this into that, and then I'll show you the finished product once it's in there. So as you can see, I've got my P2 polycarbonate paint slid into the 6 pillar posts. This is where you're going to slide it in. This is really a pain in the butt when you've got one person, because these things just pop out, right? Like if I push this 6 pillar post back, this will get out of the grooving. So you're going to, like, it would be a lot easier if you've got someone to make sure that these posts don't wobble around. And you want to make sure that at the bottom it goes into the frame. You don't want it to pop out. So it's a bit of an alignment thing, but we're getting there. Now I'm going to put the other P2 paint over here on the opposite side. Now that I've got both of my P2 paints on here, I'm going to move on to the next one. But something to note, this paint was also damaged as well. I don't know if you can see it. It's hard to see. No, I can't even see it now, but held up in the light, there's like some internal dents, I guess you could call it. It's been like pressed, I guess, in shipping. Now I'm going to take a look and see. I need to install P3R and then P3L, and on the opposite ends, P3R and P3L as well. So I'm going to do that right now. So I just installed the P3R paint, and I've got the high end coming up towards the number 4 post, the center post. Man, this was a pain in the butt. I could not get it to align. I even used some vegetable oil to, like, you know, make it slide into the slots easier, but this thing was a real nuisance. I almost lost my shit on this one. So I can only imagine what the P3L will be like. So that's P3R, that's going to be P3L, and I'm going to put that one in right now. Hopefully it'll be all right. All right, so I've now installed P3R and P3L. And let me tell you, this was without a doubt, so far, the most difficult thing. You got to make sure that they line up inside here within the grooves on both sides, inside and outside, and along your 6 posts and the 4 bar. And this was a real pain in the butt. It really was. This took me a good 20-30 minutes, and it's very wobbly at this stage of the assembly. So I would put this in, and then my P1 would pop out because these are not secured yet by anything. So now I got P3R, P3L, but then for some reason they alternate the parts. So on that side it'll be P3L and P3R. So whatever that's all about, I'm about to put those pieces in right now. Now I've got my P2 polycarbonate frames, or pane, sorry, R3, RL, RL, R3. This thing right now is extremely wobbly, and I won't really feel comfortable until I got like a top frame on there, because one wrong move and it'll just pop out of the frame. And this is a real headache. Assembling the the P3, or what, sorry, the R3 and the RL. Sorry, the P3L and the P3R, P3R and the P3L. These 4 panes were a pain. They were a pain, absolutely. So I'm hoping that the next step, this will be easier. But this was a headache. I actually took close to half an hour just to get all of this, 35 minutes roughly. But hopefully this next step will be easier, because as you can see, now we're putting the top frame on, so it'll be a bit more secure. So let's get to it. I need 2 F2s. Oh, those are the bolts, sorry. And 10R and 10L. All right. Okay. Something interesting to note, one of my 10L pieces looks damaged. You could see it's like bent up. I don't know what happened here, but anyways, very disappointed in the quality of this product so far. I really am. Anyways, I'm gonna put that on. So I just installed 10L and 10R, but what's really interesting is that they just sit, they're not even. These are not even. Yeah, this is a really, and I mean, you can't really install this incorrectly, because this bar here has to go on the inside. So on the outside, it's nice and flat. And if you take a look, I'll show you the bars from the opposite end. If you take a close look, okay, hold on. See, this bar is closed. This one is open. The one on the right is open, the one on the left is closed. Why? Because it's going to rest along the edge of your polycarbonate pane. So you can only install this one way. Okay, so this one here, see, the bar has to go on facing the inside. So, see, so that goes this way. That'll go on this side. So I'll put it like this. It'll rest on the pane. Oh, that one went easy. Did it? You want to make sure that the polycarbonate pane is inside this frame. So I'm just going to set my phone down and do that. So I just installed this part here. And what's really interesting is that, like, see, just like on the opposite end, it's protruding. It's not sitting flush, which I honestly don't understand. I really don't. Now, it could be because it's not tight. I don't know. But I mean, if you take a look, see the groove? You can see that the pane, the polycarbonate pane, it's as high up onto this as it can get, right? Because there's a limit as to how far you can push this piece down. Like, this is sitting literally flush with the bottom of this green part. There's the polycarbonate pane, and this bar is pushed down as much as you can push it. If you push it down anymore, it's going to damage it. So now I'm going to put this last piece on. From what I can see, you're not really like screwing anything in here. You're just resting these panels on here. So let me just do the last one. I've got my pieces in now, 10-3, R, 10L, whatever their numbers are. I'm already getting confused here, but I mean, this is really not lining up properly from what I can see. Like, look at this. See that? Look at how it protrudes. But as you can see, it's literally sitting up against the bottom. That polycarbonate pane, it's touching the bottom of the green bar on the inside. So if I was to push this down any harder to like fix that protrusion, I'm damaging the panel. It's all the way in at the bottom. As you can see, it's inside. I can't push this panel down any further. It's all the way down inside the slot. So I don't know why it's sticking out like that. That side is not so bad. Now on this side, it's kind of the same thing. So maybe this is like a design thing. See, like look at this. This one is sticking up. My 10L is sticking up, and my 10R seems to be okay. So I think it's the 10L piece that sticks out. And once again, if you look inside, I don't know if you can see it, but the polycarbonate pane is literally touching the bottom of the inside of that green frame. Can't push it down anymore. I push down this green frame. You can see the polycarbonate pane is like literally right up there. So everything is aligned. Everything is, you know, it's installed correctly. I don't know why it's sticking out like that. Maybe it's supposed to. I don't know. But so far I'm not impressed with this product. It's really a flimsy quality product. But I bought it, so I'm going to install the damn thing. Let's see how it works. Moving on to the next step. So now I'm going to install two number 5s along the P1 panels. So that should give, this is the number 5, that should give the frame a little bit more structure, and it'll be a little bit more sturdier. And we're going to be using the F2 bolts and nuts to secure it. So let's see how that's... Oh, okay, so you're going to slide it in here somewhere. Okay, that's so weird. It's such a weird way that they outline this. But I guess that's why I'm making this video, so I can do all the guesswork in this. So we'll start with the 5s. Let's install that right now. From what I can tell, you're just sliding it on. Let me see here. Oh yeah. Yeah, once again, see, this end is closed off. So this is the side where it's open, where it will rest on the edge of the polycarbonate panel. So I'm going to just seat these on, and I need to slide 2 F2 bolts before I put it in. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to slide 2 F2 bolts with the nuts, and then I'll just seat it loosely on the polycarbonate pane. So as you can see, I put the 5 bar on there. It's literally just resting on the polycarbonate frame, and I've got the F2 bolts and nuts. I just slid them in the rail. I haven't secured them. You can just literally slide them. Right at this point, you can just slide them. Where is it? I can't even see. Here we go. See, like, I can just slide this. I haven't tightened it. I haven't done anything of the sort. I just put it in the rail, and it's resting on the panel. So now I'm going to do the exact same thing. I'm going to put 2 F2 bolts and the nuts, slide them in, and then I'll rest this on the opposite side. So this is kind of interesting. The 2 bolts and nuts, the F2s, they're going to be slid over here into the corner. And then I'm going to use a B4 frame and that's going to connect in the corner over here. But what's interesting is that I need an F2 in this frame on the inside of it. I mean, I can see the rail, but why didn't they tell me to do that earlier? That's really weird. Because when you're putting the, see? Oh, they do. Crap, I missed it. My bad. I screwed up. So I'm supposed to slide two of them. I did not do that. And that kind of sucks because I had a real hard time. Okay, so I got to backtrack. And what I will do is I will take my F2s. I have to slide one here, one here, one here, one there, and the opposite side. So for each panel, I got to slide two of them in. I missed that. That's my screw up. Okay, so I'm going to take off each one of these panels, the 10R, the 10L on both sides, and I will slide my F2 bolts, wherever the hell I put them. Oh, here they are. These are my F2s. So I will have to slide those inside those panels. All right. So I'll be back in just a few minutes while I take care of that. All right, guys. As you can see, I have slid in two F2 bolts and nuts on 10L and 10R on both sides. There we go. And on the opposites. It was just a matter of popping off those pieces, sliding the nuts and bolts through it, and we're back on track. Now I need to, from what I can tell, sorry. Okay, so that's 10R. There's my 5-piece. Okay. All right. Okay, so I need to slide one more F2. So basically, I'm going to have one F2 sliding over here. And then I've got this F2 on the 10R piece. So that will slide down here. So basically it's going to connect. And I need a third F2 that I'm going to put in here. And then I'm going to connect all of those to a B4 bracket. So I'm going to do that right now. It'll basically, this B4 will go in like this. Something like that. Anyways, I will connect the B4 after I put in my third F2 bolt and nut, and that'll go here or here. I'm not sure which one. I'm going to play around with it and you'll see what I ended up with. So just to show you what I've done, this is the, I don't even know what piece number this is. I think it's 5. It's the top frame, basically. So on the top frame, I had to slide in two F2 bolts, one on this side, one is loose over there. And then on this piece where I goofed and I didn't put the F2 bolts, I put them in along the rail. And what I did was I took a B4. This is a B4. That's what this looks like right here. Okay? And what that does is, okay, after you get your F2 bolt here and here, you need to pop a third F2 bolt on the same side as the long bar, top bar here, just up here. Slide it in, bam. So this B4 bracket is basically like a supporting, connecting piece to give it some stability. So that's basically it. You got two, so along the number 5 piece, your top piece here, you're going to have two F2 bolts side by side. You're going to have one of your F2 bolts on 10R. Okay, you're going to slide that over and align it up with your B4 bracket, which is this piece right here. So from what I can see on this manual, now I just need to snap S6R, and that'll close this off. Okay, I can't do this with one hand, so I'm going to set this down. So I just put on S6R, but this thing is like extremely loose, wobbly. Like it's the right piece, but it doesn't really go on there. I might have to like crazy glue it. I know it's the right piece because that's what it is. See, you got your 5 bar, which is that long bar here. That's this bar. Then you've got your 10R connecting. That's 10R connecting to the 5 bar. Then you've got 3 F2 bolts and nuts, which we got, and that's held down by a B4 bracket right here. Okay, so I got my B4 bracket in there. You can't see it, but this is it. This is the B4 bracket to connect 10R to number 5. And it gives it that stability with the F2 bolts and nuts. But then this piece, which is supposed to cover this up, it's not going. It's not sitting on there properly. Like it's very loose. This is a really poorly constructed thing. Anyways, I can see that the polycarbonate pane on that end is already popping out. So I am going to attach the F2 bolts and the B4 bracket on that side so I can get this done. It's really weird. Their numbering schematic is just so messed up. Like, look at this. They've got B4 here, okay, but then on the other ones they've got B3, B4. Why are these pieces alternating? I don't understand that. So on the piece with 10R, I used a B4, okay, I used a B4. That was for my 10R. I mean, it's the exact same thing from what I can tell, but anyways, now that I put the B4 on this side, according to this picture, the opposite end should be a B3. So this side will have to be B3. So that's B4. That's a B4 bracket in there underneath. I'm going to put a B3 in here. So I'm going to do that right now. I'm going to connect that F2 and this F2. I will install another F2 nut and bolt. Both will go on this side, so I'll put the F2 bolt here. So this one will, well, I tightened it up anyways. I have to slide that F2 bolt over, and then I'll put another F2 bolt and nut in there, and then this F2 bolt will connect with the B3 bracket, and you'll see what that looks like in just a moment. Alright, so I've got the opposite end now, same thing. That's a B3. This one is a B4. What I don't understand, and I mean, why is there a disconnect here? I don't understand why. Because it's fit in properly. Now this end just popped out because until you secure it, these things are really fucking wobbly. I hate it. Sorry, pardon my language, but yeah, this is really crappy. I have to rotate in. I'll put the other B3 and the B4 over there. Maybe I can sort of play around with this end and see why is there a gap. See this? This is no good. So that end, if you take a look, it's nice. It's snug, like it's right up against it, right? The number 5 bar, right there, that long bar, 5, right? It connects to the 6 pillar post nicely. Whereas over here, there's a gap between this and the 5-bar. So this is your 6-pillar post and this is your 5-bar. Why this gap? It's not over there. It's snug over there. So I might have to loosen it up here and try again and see what goes on. Anyways, I'm going to put the opposite ends on. It's the exact same thing, so I'm not going to record that. My battery's kind of running low anyways. Once I'm done, I will return and you'll see all 4 corners are done. Now, as you can see, I have to install the 8-bar. From what I can tell, I got to install one here, and I'm going to have to install another one here opposite, even though they don't really illustrate that in the picture here. But I've got 4 of them. I should only have 2. As you can see here, part number 8, 2 of them. But that's just for this one component. If you look at the parts list, this is the parts list. Part number 8, I should only have 2. I was missing part 8. But anyways, you only need 2. I got 4 of them. What's really interesting, and this I'm going to address this when I do my review, is there are actually 3 different versions of this manual, the assembly instructions. So this and this is together. That's one. This is a second one, the exact same model. 845-084, 845-084 V00. But it is the same model. And I have a third one, a third manual, on my phone, which they sent to me as a PDF file. Now, because I got to install the 8-bar, I have to install this 8-bar across this way and across that way. And I've got 2 extras. Now, because I was following my original manual here, I will have to open this F2 here and right opposite here as well, and I will have to slide in an F2 nut and bolt down here so that it could rest, like the 8-bar will rest halfway. And then I'll put this nut and bolt back on. So first thing I'm going to do is take this one right off. Take this off, put another F2, slide it down, and then I'll put this one back on. I'll do the same thing on the opposite end, and then I'll do it on the other side as well. So I have to do about 5 minutes worth of backtracking just to put this bar on. What's also noteworthy is that there are no indicators as to where that bar should rest. So just to give you an idea, I have to eyeball it. You know, like, do I put it up this high? Do I put it down halfway? I plan on doing this halfway because from what I can tell, this is going to offer some sort of structural integrity. So I am going to take off these F2s right now. So I just took off the nut, and I just realized that I'm going to have to take this bolt, or this nut and bolt, off, and this one as well, so I can remove the B3 or B4 bracket, this bracket right here that I'm touching, so that I can slide another bolt down that track. So now I have to take this off, take this off, take this bracket off, and then I'll slide another bolt, and I'll re-secure everything once I've got 2 bolts going down. Alright, so I have removed all 3 of these F2 nuts and bolts. I took the B3 or B4 bracket off, whichever one you want to call this, I forget. And right down this track here, I slid another F2 bolt. You can see it sitting there without a nut on it. This one right here. It'll just slide down. There we go. Now I'm going to have to do that to all 3 corners, and then I should be able to put those 2 8 bars, one here and one on the opposite side. So I have to do that. I got to remove these F2 bolts on each one of the corners now. Once it's done, you'll see the 8 bar running on both sides. Alright, so as you can see, I got the 8 bar in now on this side. Like I said, I had to take these F2 bolts, nuts and bolts off, plus that B3 or B4 bracket, whatever it's called. I slid another F2 bolt and nut down here. I did the exact same thing on the opposite side, and I had to slide another F2 bolt down the middle post here, and there it is. Now, what's interesting is that they don't have any markings on these posts here. So I don't know how far down I was supposed to put the 8 bar. I eyeballed it, and I'll do the exact same thing on the opposite end. This has been a real pain in the butt so far. The way that this thing has been constructed and engineered, it's a pain in the butt. But I think I got a decent height here. So I will try to match it as evenly as I can. Hey Bruno, how you doing, buddy? And I will try to do it on this side at the same height. But again, there's no marking, so you don't really know how far down you need to put that 8 bar. Alright, so now I'm going to attach this 7 bar, and it's going to go on the top from left to right. So it's basically going to rest something like this, just roughly, from here to here. And I'm going to secure it with the F2 brackets, or sorry, the B2 brackets. Which makes sense because these are the B2 brackets. So basically, the way I see it in the manual, these 2 F2 bolts that are not connected to anything, they will connect here and here. And then if you look here on this post, there are 2 circles over here. So I'll put 2 more F2 bolts there and 1 F2 on the top. Alright, so I'm going to connect that right now. So this part is a little bit tricky here. It would be best if you have a second set of hands, because I will be struggling with this. I took both of the nuts off of these F2s and I put in 2 bolts straight from the other side. I was thinking I might have to slide it down this slot like I did on all the other beams, but I put it in from this side, completely on the outside of this post. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put those bolts through their respective holes, and then I will put a F2 bolt and nut on the top, and I'll connect it to that bar, the number 7 bar. But first I'm going to see if I can secure these without them falling out. Again, it would really help if you have a second set of hands. Alright, so now I'm going to connect this 7 bar, and it's going to go from that side to the opposite side on the top. So I'm going to connect that right now. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to connect one of these B2 brackets, and it'll go like this. So you're going to have 2, and then these are going to be secured to the post using an F4 bolt. And then these 2 will be F2s. Alright, so here's my B2 bracket, sorry. And if you remember, we had 2 F2 nuts and bolts on the side of this piece here that weren't connected to anything. So they connect to the B2 bracket. Now, this one here, you're going to need a longer nut and bolt, a longer bolt. So we're going to be using the F4s because this is longer than the F2. And I'm going to put that all the way on the outside, straight through from here, and it'll come out this end. All right, so now we've got two F4 nuts and bolts connecting to the B2 bracket, and these are the F2 nuts and bolts over on this side. Now, as you can see, the top is still open. So I got to connect that next, and I'm going to use an F2 nut and bolt, and that will be connecting to my 7 bar here. Now, as I understand it, the bar will be this way. This is the top. Hold on. This is the top position because you're going to slide your polycarbonate frames and panes in here. It should slide from what I'm understanding. And I'm going to take the F2 bolt, slide it in here. Okay, so this is the under part of the 7 bar, right? You can see, just like with the other posts, you can slide the F2 bolt in here, and then, sorry. All right, so this is the top. I'm looking at the top right now. But underneath, you can see you can slide that bolt in here, and then it's going to go into this B2 bracket right here, and then you're going to put the respective nut underneath to secure this bar like so. So I'm going to do that now, and then you'll see. So I've got one side of the bar on. Pay attention to the shape of the 7 bar. You got the curves up here and like that little roof type dealy. Sorry, my camera's not focusing. All right, now in this slot right here on the bar where my finger is, that's where you're going to slide your F2 bolt, and it's going to be going downwards. Then you're going to secure it with the respective nut over here. So now I'm just going to repeat that on the other side. All right, so it's basically the exact same thing on the opposite end. You've got two F4 nuts and bolts. This is an F2 that wasn't connected before, and now it is because it was just on this rail. And from underneath here, I slid the F2 bolt in here, facing downwards, and the respective securing nut is underneath, if you can see it, just underneath the bar. So tighten everything up. This is page 14. If you look at page 14, there is an S bracket here, S2. That's this. But if you look at page 13, and let me see page 12, actually maybe I goofed up. Maybe it is my mistake, I don't know. It's possible. No, they don't have it on page 12 either, because that was when we were putting the corners on. What's really interesting is that there is no mention anywhere on page 12 of this S2 bracket. And now if you take a look at the picture here, these are your F4 bolts. That's this. But I've already secured it on this end. So basically what I got to do is I got to take these off, or take them off, and then put this underneath. So this should be like this. And then you have the bolts going through. So I have to undo what I've done, and from what I can tell, all I gotta do is take these two F4s off, lace the F4s through these, put it through to the other side here, same way, and then this will be protruding like this. So kind of a pain in the butt. I really don't like how they wrote this manual. A lot of it is me just sort of trial and error. So I'm gonna take these two off, lace them up through this S2 bracket, and it'll look like this basically, and those F4s will go through here. Okay, so I will be with you in just a bit, because I was looking at this bracket here, the S2, and what I come to realize was it lines up. Well, it didn't at first. It should line up. If you look at these two little holes here at the top, those two holes are F3 screws, and from what I can tell, they're supposed to get screwed in here and here. Now, before I took the F4 nuts and bolts off, it was sticking out like this. So that the top of the S2 bracket, those two small holes at the top, they weren't going to line up with these holes here. So I had to loosen the F2 nut here. It's not off, I just loosened it so I can slide it like so until it's flush. Okay, so here's a juicy nugget. This bracket over here, the S2 bracket, okay, now I've already added it on, and I'm just going to explain what it is. If you'll remember, we put these two F4 bolts in, right? F4, F4. But it's supposed to go on the outside. So what I had to do was I had to backtrack, take these bolts off, then put this S2 bracket just sitting on top, and I just laced the F4 bolts back in. Now, what's interesting is and you need to take note of this, is this bar, the 7 bar, has to be flush with this S2 bracket. Okay? So this bar has to be flush with this S2 bracket. If it's not flush, all you got to do is loosen up the F2 nut under here, and you'll be able to slide this bar, because it's a bracket. It's got like a little groove in it, and you can slide the bar back and forth. So just make a mental note of this. You need to put that S2 bracket on. I know in the previous step, I didn't put this on because in the manual, it doesn't show you this. Or at least if it does, I mean, I had a great deal of difficulty with the manual. So anyways, you're going to need to put the S2 bracket on. Not a big deal. All you're literally doing is taking the F4s off, and then you put the S2 bracket underneath, and what you're going to do is you're going to screw them with the F3 screws into the top two holes. And I'll show you that on the other side. Here, see these two holes here? They're going to line up with the 7 bar. And I'll actually show you on the other side where it's going to be screwed into, so there's no confusion, because I have to do that right now. So those two little holes will get screwed into here and here. Right there, this little hole here, this groove, and this one right here. So that's what is going to go. Now if you'll notice, it's not flush. There's a gap. So I'm going to loosen the F2 nut underneath here, and then I'll be able to slide the bracket so that everything will be flush. Just make a mental note that the F3 screws that you're going to use here, they don't go in that easily into these two respective holes, just like the I think it was the F1s, I forget which one, when we were assembling the polycarbonate panes. It really is a pain. It doesn't go in easy. You do have to apply a good amount of pressure and turn slowly, otherwise you will strip the screws. So I am going to take off my two F4s, put this on top, lace the F4 bolts on top of it. It goes right through in the same fashion to the other side there, and then I will loosen up the F2 bolt underneath the 7 bar so I can make this nice and flush. Oh, but one more thing before you do that, because of how this is constructed, you will have to slide your polycarbonate panes onto this bar, the 7 bar. So I'm going to slide them on. Now, according to the manual, you're supposed to move on and install the W bar. Now, here's where things get a little bit tricky. We don't need the W bar. Now, when I called them initially in their customer service, they said, you don't need parts B5 and B6. I don't remember them saying anything about the W bar. I do have, I think, 4 of them, but you don't need them. I couldn't get it to work with the W bar. So I'm just going to show you what it's like without the W bar. I'm going to put all the panels on. Remember, before you put your second S2 bracket on, because you need to have this open so you can slide the panes on, you got to put the polycarbonate panes on, then you put your S2 bracket on. So just give me 1 second. I'm going to slide those panes on. Actually, you know what? Hold on. So you're going to take this curved side right here of your polycarbonate pane, and you're going to slide it onto this. It'll line up. The grooves will line up. So let's see if I can do this with one hand. I don't want to damage anything. There we go. It just slides. Slide it right to the end. There you go. Now, remember, I already put the S2 bracket on this side, and I screwed in the F3 screws. So I can't slide it from this side anymore. So I need to make sure I put all 4 polycarbonate panes on before I close it up with the S2 bracket. So I'm just going to slide all those on, and then I'll close it up with the S2 bracket. As you can see, I have slid all 4 polycarbonate panes onto the 7 bar here, the middle bar. And what I got to do now is I got to attach this S2 bracket over here, and I'll have to, as you can see, this bar is not flush with this level, right? So when this goes up, so that means I have to loosen up the F2 nut underneath here so I can slide this in. That's going to be a little bit of a headache for me because now I got these panes on, so I'll have to lift it up and kind of fool around like that, but you get the idea. So I am going to get started on that. So as you can see, I've taken out the F4 nuts and their bolts. I've got the S2 bracket. I'm just going to pop it in and drop one, and eventually drop the other one. So I got to use both hands. I'll be with you in a sec. All right. So I've got the F4 bolts. Now, if you'll notice, this is not flush with the 7 bar. So I've loosened the F2 nut underneath, so I should be able to just slide it like so. Now what I'm going to have to do, and see, I can move this up a little bit. It has a little bit of give to it. I just got to line it up, these with the holes underneath, and I will use my last 2 F3 screws to screw this S2 bracket into the 7 bar. So it gives a little bit of more stability. So I can't do this with one hand, so I will set down the phone and you'll see when I'm done. So as you can see, the S2 bracket is now on. I just laced the F4 nuts and bolts back through the same 2 holes. I secured the S2 bracket with 2 F3 screws here. As I mentioned earlier, I had to make this 7-bar flush with this bracket, so I had to loosen the F2 nut under here so that I could slide it, get it right up against there. Once that was done, once I loosened it up, I made it flush, and then before I even tightened this up again, I just started screwing these in once they were in. And again, same problem as before. The way these are machined, it doesn't really go in that easily. You have to apply a lot of pressure and turn slowly, otherwise you will strip the heads. After that, then I just tightened up the nut underneath here. So there we have it. There we go. It's a little stiff, but yeah, there we go. This is the Outsunny 51-inch cold frame. Now you can leave it flat. You can open it up like so. Now you got another hook over here if you want to lower it, so you get less. So, well, this was a very long assembly video. There was a lot of trial and error. I will be giving a review in a short while. One last thing, these corners that they have, I don't like the way that they snap on. They can come off so easy. This one is all right. It's not that bad. But this one on this side, it'll just come off so easily. Look, it's already up. I didn't even do that. Look at this. See that? So you don't have to do what I'm going to do, but I am planning on using some JB Weld. It's just a industrial glue. Like, look at this. This thing doesn't even want to go in. It doesn't want to go in. So I'll definitely be using some JB Weld before I actually take this thing outside, because this thing is just like itching to come off. Like, look. See? Push this side down, that side goes up. Oh. So I'll definitely be putting some glue, some JB Weld. This is just begging to come off. If anybody doesn't know what JB Weld is, I'll show you a quick, brief video of it. Hold on. So for anybody who doesn't know, JB Weld it's an epoxy steel hardener. I'm hoping that this will do the trick when I want to secure those corners, because after all that headache, I would hate to see those corners pop off. So I will apply this on, wait, I'll give it 24 hours just to be safe. It's probably less than that. 4 to 6 hours. I'll give it the full 24. Anyways, all you do is you just mix the two together, you know, on a little pallet or whatever, and then you apply it, and 4 to 6 hours later, bam, you're good to go. So there you have it, folks. The assembly of the Outsunny cold frame 51-inch, model number 845084V00.